I'm not in your video.
You're not in my video? I'm in your video.
You're in mine.
Why am I talking Southern?
I don't know.
Why am I talking Southern? What's up, everybody? How you doing today?
Hi, everyone.
I feel like my V is up in your guts.
No comment.
I didn't quite come out the way I intended it to come out.
And we're starting with the sexual.
How are you feeling? Hey, Bubbles. Hey, Juliana. Who else we got on? We got people on early because we're late as always. Yay, she watched. In case anybody's wondering, Bubbles was just talking about our videos from our talks on the Low Carb Cruise are live on the Low Carb Cruise YouTube channel. So go ahead and check those out.
Low Carb Cruise, YouTube, all of our talks, all the talks from the Low Carb Cruise are now posted. So you can go check us out. I'm going to do a post about that on my Instagram.
Yeah, there you go.
To make sure everybody knows. I think I just shared it in my Facebook group yesterday.
Where are you going?
Here we go. I'm going over your leg.
Over my leg. Okay, you're trying to show off your quads. I see how it is.
I gotta show off the work, the hard. Ooh, look at that! Right?
I know, right? It's like
popping today.
I don't know. I don't even know how to describe how we've talked about how you're hittable. Like I see your muscles. I'm like, I want to hit them.
I'm hittable in more ways than one.
Okay, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about cheating.
First off, if you didn't catch my live yesterday, I did a little live on YouTube and a little live on Instagram, but I've been in the studio. I was in the studio for 6 hours yesterday talking. I may not talk too much this morning.
No way.
Because I'm trying to save my voice because I have to go back later today.
Why are you in the studio?
I'm in the studio recording my book. Go back today to finish up the book. I think we'll probably do a total of like 9 hours altogether of recording. But yeah, 6 hours yesterday. By the end of the day, I was like, I can't even form the words with my mouth. Yeah, so it's been an experience. It's different. I hired someone to do the last book.
I was going to say, for those of you who were sad that you didn't get to hear Coach Bronson actually do the audio for his last Audible.
Yep.
He will be for this one. Yay!
Okay. That being said, now there will be some.
What up, Carnivore Muscle?
Not a lot,
coffee.
But a little bit of ad-libbing, a little bit of editorial stuff through as I kind of add little things in. Not like crazy. I thought I was going to just be like completely saying, screw it, I'm recording my book, I can do whatever, I'm just going to start talking about stuff. But I didn't also want to mess up the flow of the book. So there's a couple of things to add in there. I'm thinking about maybe doing an added prologue and an epilogue, like having something I'm talking about at the beginning and then at the end, so I'm not interrupting the book, but we'll see how that goes. So the book, the audio version of the book will have things that you can't get from the regular book versions. Just a side note.
VIP.
So, all right, we're talking about cheating today. Oh, wait, what?
Carrie's asking me, is this my Brunel Yeti? No, it is not. This is my drink element. Stay salty. Electrolytes, which I have in here right now. I have the chocolate caramel.
Chocolate caramel. Okay.
Along with the Ballistic Keto salted caramel MCT powder, which I posted about on my stories the other day. Y'all, if you are not familiar with Ballistic Keto, add Ballistic Keto on Instagram. You can go to my Instagram bio and grab the discount. I have a discount link for MCT powders with Ballistic Keto. They are very tasty. All of their flavors are amazing. They are doing a 40% off when you buy two, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe it's just 40% off everything right now because they have
what are the balloons for?
I don't know. Hello, yay, celebrate. 40% off.
Yeah, okay.
Somehow knew what I was saying. So get that while it lasts because I think it's an overstock because they probably went crazy for KetoCon and have some overstock. So get it while it lasts. I just ordered a couple more for myself. But Carrie's telling me I need one. Yeah, I do need a Brunel Yeti. It's about time for a new one. So I need to go For those that don't know what Brenau is, it's my alma mater, Brenau Women's College, Northeast Georgia. And it means as gold refined by fire.
As gold? Isn't that just melted gold?
No, that's how you make gold.
Refined.
It's refined.
You melt it and then you get it. Gotcha. Okay. Take all the crappy stuff off the top and throw it away.
Stephanie ordered her ballistic keto. She ordered 4. The other day, she's like, what are your favorite flavors? I was like, I pretty much named all of them except the pumpkin spice. I'm very particular about my pumpkin spice. Some pumpkin spice is very good, and others I'm not so sure. But their gingerbread is on point, so I did order that one. I ordered the Mexican hot chocolate. I ordered myself a Mexican hot chocolate and a gingerbread.
Okay.
Fall in the summer.
You guys see what I'm dealing with?
I love fall flavors. That's the one part of me that's basic.
I'm going to keep my mouth
Will
shut.
you disagree with that?
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I don't think I'm basic in any other way.
In any other way, I'm sure if I thought about it for a minute, I could probably find some ways.
Maybe my love of poofy pillows.
Pillows is definitely one.
Is kittens a basic thing?
I don't know. I think
If you love kittens,
kittens are a universal thing. Everybody
you.
likes kittens. I mean,
except maybe for the fanatical dog people.
even a fanatical dog person, if you put a kitten in their
Can
hand,
appreciate a kitten.
Yeah, I mean,
More than a full-grown cat.
No, but even cats.
I think people who hate
I like
cats.
cats better than kittens.
I think people who hate cats really hate adult cats.
People that hate cats just hate life.
If you hate kittens, there's something wrong with you.
No, if you hate felines in general, you just hate life in general.
I think people think they hate cats until they have a cat.
Right. Cats are the best. I love cats.
Then you can be convinced.
Except unless you're allergic to them. Sorry, Juliana.
I suppose that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, let's get to the topic.
Let's get to the
Enough
topic.
rambling today.
Yes. We're warmed up now. We're ready to go. That was our warm up. Okay, what are we talking about?
We're talking about cheating.
And why are we talking about cheating?
Not cheating on your partner.
Yes, we're talking about food.
Oh, there are parallels.
There are, everything is
We could
everything.
draw such a parallel.
We are going to come out with a clothing line called Everything is Everything. Or a course or some kind of platform, because if you haven't noticed, all of the topics that we talk about specific to, air quotes, specific health and fitness
also
have parallels in every other aspect of your life. Relationships, business, money, spirituality, general life, like all the concepts that we talk about, guys. If you can figure it out in one area, you can apply that stuff in other areas. Yeah. So all the stuff we're going to talk about crosses over to a lot of different things in your life. So something to think about. Everything is, so if you hear us say everything is everything, that's what we're referencing. So cheating in the idea of you're trying to do things to help improve your quality of life, to get a body composition goal, to get healthy, remove a medication, whatever it may be, whatever your why is, whatever goal it is you're moving forward to. Hopefully you've established a set of steps or a set of actions or things that you need to do on a regular, consistent basis in order to move you in that direction. And you're going along the way, and something over here says, hey, spend time here, hey, get me, hey, whatever it is, right? And you go, oh, that looks fun, let me go do that. Whether it's cupcakes, whether it's taking a day off and not going to the gym and sitting on your couch and binging Netflix for a day instead, whether it's a holiday party where you decide, I'm just not going to do it today because I'm going to go do this, or alcohol, that was mine. French fries, that was mine. Those are the two big ones for me. Having that thing that you just can't seem to get away from, that no matter what you say you want to do towards improving your health, you always have this thing that's like, no, come back over here. No, come back over here.
This is it. It's such a parallel to relationships because it's like that abusive partner,
right?
Who
I was literally just going to say, it's like
love bombs you, and now you go back, and then you forget about all the abuse.
Yep.
And then you keep going back and
It's
going back and going back.
it's that toxic X, that relationship that you had to get away from, but for some reason you keep wanting to go back to.
Keeps drawing you back in.
Right.
And for so many in our space, it is the food.
Yeah.
It is the food. It is those very addictive food items that were difficult to get off in the first place. And some of you had success for some time, and then something one day you decided to have a little bit, and then you couldn't get back on track. And then ever since, it's been this loop.
Right.
You just keep going back to it. Or for some of you, you're never able to get off of it in the first place. You try to go keto, but that one thing keeps bringing you back, and you keep falling off keto, or whatever it might be. We can insert any diet.
Backslide.
Yep. So, what inspired this topic? Let's talk a little bit about that.
You were talking about something. We went for a walk the other day, and you were
Yep.
talking about something. What were you
I was,
reminiscing?
oh, it was Friday morning. Yes, yesterday I was talking about the fact that Friday morning, I think it was, yeah, Friday morning I went to the chiropractor, and this was like mid-morning, and I hadn't had breakfast, and I went grocery shopping afterwards.
That's right. Yep.
And I was starving at that point in time.
Never go shopping when you're hungry.
There's your practical tip for avoiding cheating. But this was different. Not only was I physically hungry, and I recognized that I was physically hungry, but I was feeling cravings. And it's not something that I feel on a regular basis anymore. So it was this, I was very present to it. I was very aware that I was like, I'm wandering up and down the aisles. We have Mom's Organic, what is it called? Mom's
Organic food
Market?
market
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
which is a chain. I thought it was this like local
No, it's-
small
yeah.
business, but it's a chain. And it's just like a Whole Foods or a Sprouts, but
It's like
it's kind of like a Trader Joe's.
It's like a more crunchy Trader Joe's.
yeah.
It's more earthy and crunchy than Trader Joe's is, if that can be a possible thing.
And it feels very local and small businessy, and it's one of those places that I love to peruse and look around and see what they have and things like that, right? So I'm in there and I'm like, of course they're healthier than the typical store. So you've got all these gluten-free things and dairy-free things and, things that in the past, my justification brain, my emotional brain would start making all these justifications. It's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, it's keto, it's low sugar, it's whatever that makes it healthier, and then would justify having muffins for breakfast instead of coming home and eating my steak and salmon that was waiting for me at home. So all these thoughts are going through my head of, I recognize this was just it was something that came up in conversation with us the next day, because I was like, wow, I was so present to the thoughts. I was so present to the feelings and the urges more than probably ever before, to where years ago it would have tricked me. The thought processes that were happening, the emotional thoughts, the justification would have tricked me into listening to those thoughts and buying the things and ending up going off the rails to go, not just one muffin, but buying a whole thing of donuts that's gluten-free and justifying it. For me, one of the big things, as I was in the progression of my journey, it went from total standard American diet, binge foods, to protein bars, which y'all are just as much garbage, if not even more so, because they end up putting all kinds of things in there that will really wreck your gut, probably even more so than an Oreo or a standard American diet muffin. But it was all of these progressions that truly I can acknowledge now were progressions in the way I was thinking. And that's what triggered this conversation. I said to Bronson, wow, I wonder if I wish I could bottle up and sell a course that could take you from the depths of the cheating and the unable to get off of that loop to where I am now. because there just was not a justification in the world that was strong enough to make me do it in that moment.
And that's where we kind of came up with let's talk about this, because
Okay.
it was like, okay, what is, like, if you came up with that course, what is the message? What is the thing that we want to impart, that, like, what is it for us that got us to a point where we're either, one, aware of the cravings when they happen, or we just don't have them anymore?
Yes.
How do you get to the point where you don't have that? Like, it's not even something that enters your mind as a possibility of something that you would have any desire to do. And thinking about that process, like, we talked about alcohol earlier. For me, that's alcohol. I still have cravings for certain things. I still crave ice cream every once in a while. I still crave French fries, fried potatoes. Alcohol, the idea of any environment that I could possibly be in where I would consider, hey, maybe I'll have a drink, doesn't exist for me at this point. Like, it's not even I think I've said this before. I equate it to, if I am at an event, or if I'm somewhere and I see someone leave their purse behind or their wallet on the table, the idea of me taking that and putting it in my pocket,
that is
doesn't even,
awesome.
It's not even a like, that's not, it would be, the action I would take by default would be, hey, you forgot your thing, whatever, or pick it up and go chase them down and give it to them.
That is such a powerful analogy.
Like, it's not something that's even in my sphere of thought processes to have alcohol at this point. And I got to that point because number one, you guys don't know I don't think I've ever really talked about my drinking issues.
No.
Ever. I've had a fun history with alcohol.
You should do a video on that for
Yeah.
your YouTube.
So there was a few years where my life revolved around alcohol. Literally, that was the only continual factor about everything that I did in my life was had to do with alcohol.
Wow.
And it was not good. It was not good at all. It never got to a point where it impacted like my work performance or things like that, but it impacted pretty much every other aspect of my life in not a good way. And I got to a point where I knew I had to break that. I knew I had to break that. And it actually happened twice in my life. We're going to go on a little segue. We're going to learn a little bit about Bronson today, because I feel like I need to talk about this. I grew up, I guess you could say, sheltered. I had no exposure to a lot of things that were worldly, so to speak. I didn't drink alcohol for the first time until I was in the Army. I was 18, had my first beer. Hated it. But at that time, Bartles and James, baby. Bartles and James, and then what was Zima?
Oh my gosh.
Zima.
Wow.
Yes. Bartles and James and Zima were my gateway alcohol
Shout
choices.
out Gen X.
I was in the Army, 18, started drinking. I had an incident where we had a guy who was getting out of the Army. He was ETSing, and we threw a party for him. My mom's probably going to watch this. I don't know if she's ever heard this story. Hi, Mom. Friday after work, we had a party. And I remember one thing from that entire weekend. After the party, I remember my squad leader taking me home, pulling over on the side of the road, throwing up on the side of the road. Friday night, I don't know what time, when. Oh, I remember two other things. I forgot, I'm remembering now. I remember I got pantsed. One other guy tried to do the splits and pulled his groin. The guy that was ETSing, the getting out of the Army, broke a vodka bottle on his hand and cut his hand. And then I remember throwing up on the way, being driven home by my squad leader. That was Friday night. The next thing I remember is getting up to go to work Monday morning.
Whoa, you blacked out for a whole day?
A whole weekend.
Oh, that was Friday night.
That was Friday night. So
Yikes.
That scared the crap out of me. Like, I don't know what happened for almost 2 whole days of my life. Like it was done. It's like, okay, that's not happening again. I was 18 years old. I didn't touch alcohol again. Now,
you
granted,
drank illegally.
I did. I drank illegally. Go figure.
But you were old enough to fight.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother, don't even get me on that topic. It freaked me out to the point where we're going to talk about, is it worth it? The justification did not exist for me at the time. Now, thankfully, I didn't have years of habits that I was trying to break. It was literally, I had started drinking
early on.
Right, I had started drinking like a week before. Like it wasn't something I had built up of habits. You know, it was, holy crap, what the heck just happened? I can't do this. I'm done. From 18 to 26, I didn't touch alcohol.
Wow.
After that incident.
Wow.
At 26, I started drinking again, thinking, okay, I can control it, whatever, no big deal. Wasn't a big deal. Went for years until my early 30s when I got divorced. Now, getting divorced, never having gone to college, having been married, in case you all don't know, my first marriage was at 19.
So
having been married,
he married the first woman he came across.
Right. My entire adult life, I was married. I never had a period in my life where I was single, free to do whatever I wanted to do, could live my life, no responsibilities, all that kind of stuff, right? So now here I am in my mid-30s, early 30s, living on my own. No attachments. And the only thing I knew to do was go out and party. Right? I started bouncing at bars. I started drinking. I became that guy in my early 30s, right?
The guy.
I was living my college life in my early 30s, and it was not good. So that's just a short history. There was a 3 to 4 year period where my life revolved around alcohol. It got to a point where it messed up a relationship I was in. It started messing with my health. There was things that were going on that was like, I need to stop doing this. And I cut it back big time. I stopped for a couple years. When I did start drinking again, it was specifically intentional. I want to engage in what I was thinking was a social thing. That's when I got into the bourbon and the whiskey, and I started doing it more as I'm going to do alcohol as a sophisticated gentleman adult thing, right? And it was fine. I didn't have an issue. But then I was also getting into health and fitness. This was when I had started getting into CrossFit. I had started becoming a coach. I had started moving into the health realm and helping people and everything else. And then that's where I did the 21-day sugar detox, where for 3 weeks, guys, 3 weeks, I just stopped drinking bourbon for 3 weeks. The impact on my body composition, how I slept, how I felt, how I was thinking, all of the things about that just absolutely blew my freaking mind, because the only thing I changed in 21 days was the alcohol. I didn't change how I ate. I didn't change my exercise.
You did the sugar detox.
But I was already not doing sugar. That's why I chose alcohol.
So it's just the alcohol.
Because I was already not doing processed food or sugar. I was already eating whole foods.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm going to do the sugar detox, but the only thing I really had to detox is alcohol, so I'll just stop drinking alcohol for 3 weeks.
Okay.
I lost 10 pounds of fat.
Not surprised at all.
In 21 days. No muscle mass. I slept like a freaking baby.
For sure.
Some of that was, but not even that much. Inflammation.
Inflammation
yes,
in your system, yeah.
Inflammation, fat. I slept great. My brain lit up, all the things. And that was really what got me going.
Yeah, right.
What?
Now you're getting into the thing that is, y'all, the answer.
Yes, there's 2 parts to this.
The answer to how you stop cheating.
Yes.
And it is, you once placed value on the alcohol.
Yes.
And it lost its value to you.
Right. As soon as I realized that it wasn't doing for me what I thought it was, and let me take that back. Let me rephrase that. As soon as I realized that the only thing it was doing for me had to do with a level of social status that wasn't as important to me as my health.
That's it.
The social engagement, the value in my social standing that I was placing on me being a bourbon guy. It wasn't necessarily
That's
that
an
I liked.
identity.
Right. It wasn't that I liked bourbon. It was the realization that I liked what being a bourbon guy was doing for me.
What you felt it was doing
Right.
for you. Yes. And
It wasn't the bourbon.
when the value of that status
Yeah.
dipped below the value of your health.
Because here's the thing, there's two pieces of that. The practical application of my health, the impact it had on my life, but I'm a coach. I want to do things that support my message and my passion and my mission. And I can't do this knowing that it's the opposite of what I'm trying to help people do.
These two identities could not coexist. And this identity as the coach rose in value, in the value and the significance it had in your life. And this is where the identity of being a bourbon guy lost its value in comparison. So this is the key, y'all. This is the key. When you associate this behavior with a greater value to you, you will never change the behavior.
Yep.
As soon as that balance shifts and that behavior no longer holds that significance for you anymore, something else goes into its place, that is when it will feel almost like magic. And this is the thing, for years I've had such a hard time putting my finger on what is the difference. What is the difference? Well, that's the difference.
Right, and you were asking before, like, what was different then versus now, right? And the difference is the identity. Who are you trying to be? And once you acknowledge that I can't be the person I want to be if I keep doing the things of the person I don't want to be.
That's it. Yep.
And you realize and you start placing the true value. What do you value? This is why we talk about identity and value and desire and your why. What is the motivation for what you're trying to do? Because you can't live in both worlds. We talk about relationships. You can't date. You can't get married to you can't get married. You can't be with your new woman if you're still hanging out with the old one or guy or whatever it is, right? It doesn't work that way. You can't do both.
Now I guess the next piece of this would be, for some of you, identity is not the thing that's front of mind, and that's okay. As I was walking up and down those grocery aisles, feeling the craving and looking at the options, considering the justifications, and weighing them against what was more valuable to me, what mattered more to me, I considered my physical well-being in the moment. I was considering, if I justify the gluten-free thing, it still has grains, it still has all these other ingredients that I know I'll be feeling headachy, brain fog, sleepy, sick, possibly sick to my stomach. I thought about the physiological changes, what it will do to my body, what it will do to my health, the goals that I have, not just for my physique, but I want to be able to fully heal my gut. I want to be fully present in my life. I thought about all of the small in the moment impacts it will have to the larger long-term impacts it will have. And it was where my mind went in that moment. What are you doing?
I'm looking up something you're talking about because I want to read something.
I was like, where are you going? So it doesn't have to be identity. That was the thing for him. And so this is something we talk about a lot is your context, right?
Yes.
If you're like, well, I don't know what the identity is. I have to figure out the identity before I can change this habit. That might not be it for you, and that's okay. It's what is the more powerful association to you. And if you're just getting started and you have no flipping clue, where it starts is the thought processes. We were just talking about this before we started today. If you were like, I need to figure out how to make myself stop in the moment when I'm cheating, good luck with that. You are not going to be able to take a habit that is so ingrained that it is automatic
and stop it mid action.
Stop it midstream.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. This is a powerful thing I do with my clients is the postmortem, or you like to call it an after action report. Start with when you can be present after you've done it. Whether it's the same day, whether it's the end of the week, but you are no longer in that heightened emotional state that's telling you to eat all the things. You're no longer in the midst of the addictive behavior. You are outside of that in a moment where you can be quiet, be with your thoughts, pull them up and say, okay, what was going on with me in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
If I did not allow myself to say, I don't know, what were the thoughts that were convincing me and justifying the behavior? Because the reason why most of you are stuck in these loops is because you're not doing that work. You're saying, I don't know what it was. I just felt like eating it. Until you answer that question,
Yeah.
what was going on in my head?
And it's not, sometimes it helps to be more specific with the question. What was I thinking? What was happening?
What was I
Where was I?
feeling?
What was I feeling? How did I justify this at the time? That's a big one. You don't make a decision without evaluating data. So, right? So somewhere in your subconscious, somewhere in your mind, you evaluated, if I do this, if I don't do this, and you picked the do it. So what was that thought process? What was the thing that you used to overpower what you're saying you want to do? And that's really
That's where it begins.
the awareness. You have to figure out what is the justification.
Creating the way that you create the awareness before the action happens or in the midst of the action.
Right.
So me walking through the grocery store and having that conscious conversation
Right.
happened by doing it after the fact.
Awareness.
For a long period of time, y'all. It doesn't happen overnight. Don't think you can do one postmortem and then next week you're going to be fixed.
No. Awareness is a skill. Okay? You have to practice it every chance that you get. So by doing this after the fact, I think we've talked about this, right? Is you have the trigger, you have your action, and then you have after that, usually thinking about what the hell did I do and why did I do it? The more you can do that postmortem or after action awareness practice, the sooner it happens in the process. So then what happens is you get to the point where you have a trigger, then you're aware of that trigger, and then you have whatever choice you've made that you're in control of. Because now you've been able to evaluate intentionally the information that's in front of you, and you're not emotionally reacting.
Yes.
Right? So
it's building the practice of taking the emotion out of it.
Right.
Because in the moment you're making it mean something about you and
Yes.
you're letting that spiral you and the emotions are taking over.
Right.
So it's the exactly as Blue Love says, yes, how to heal the patterns,
Right.
exactly that. And Stephanie said, this is what I've been doing regarding purging. That's what I had to do with my purges to stop the purging, which then led to me being able to stop the binging. I couldn't start with stopping the binging. I had to start with the purging. Mm-hmm. How was I justifying purging? Why was that okay for me to do that? And then shifting that thought process to why is it no longer okay for me to do this?
Yeah. So we're going to take it to the next step, I think.
I know where you're going, the education piece. Right?
Well, yeah. I'm going to do a practical, I'm going to add, so your practical tip is the after action. Let's practice, develop the awareness so it can happen before or during whatever you want to call that. I'm going to add another practical tip in how we think about the justification.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
And I'm going to read this out of my book.
That's what you were doing.
I'm going to practice doing what I read this yesterday in the session. So we'll read this again today. Okay. The secret to staying consistent. Okay. Start thinking in terms of net positive and net negative impact. I like this better than weighing the pros and cons. Let me turn it this way so it's there we go. I can see it better. Hey, there we go. That's better. Okay. With pros and cons, the focus tends to be on you and what you're feeling, what you like or don't like. It can be a challenge to separate from the emotion of the moment. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. The concept of net impact completely removes you from the equation.
Oh, yes.
A net impact evaluation compares the choice to the desired result, not how you feel about the choice.
It takes the self-judgment out of it.
It takes all of it, everything out of it, right? A net positive is less likely to be related to your feelings. A net negative is more likely to be related to your goals. Scenario: at a party, someone offers you a glass of wine. Been there, done that. In a pro versus con comparison, you would justify the wine with things like, it's only one glass, I've been good this week.
Oh boy. How many people have used those phrases exactly?
I don't want to be rude, I'm just being polite.
Oh, it's almost like you took this from
From people that I work with every day, right? I've been stressed lately and this will help me relax.
Oh my gosh, all the justifications.
Okay? This isn't a pro versus cons evaluation. The cons are still compelling, but aren't tied to your why not, or your goals. I'll have a hangover tomorrow. I will have a crappy workout tomorrow, even if I go. I might not even go, if I even go, right? My sleep will be messed up for a few days. It will give me digestive issues this week. So those aren't necessarily great, but are they enough for you to say, I'm still not going to do it? Because
for some
I'm just
people,
being
they're
polite.
not enough. That's
I'm just
true.
being polite.
Yeah.
Right? I can deal with that tomorrow. I'm just being polite.
I'll just have a little bit, which tends to end up
There we go.
to more because
I should put that on here. I'll just have a little bit,
right? Yep.
To be more consistent, you must consider the process an investment. Then the scope and choices become more apparent. The net positive impact of drinking a glass of wine compared to your fear of losing control of your health and being unable to break habits that will keep you from being self-reliant as you age. 0. That's the net positive of having wine.
Oh, you know what that's like the trajectory conversation that I talk about. You imagine it like you're on a vector, like a V. You're at the bottom part. Every single decision you make
is moving you one way or the other.
Is moving you one way or the other. When you have a clear vision of what those two potential futures look like, every little choice is not a little choice anymore. It holds a lot more weight.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about here. The net.
The net direction. Where are you going? Where is it taking you? The net positive impact of drinking a glass of wine compared to your goal of losing 5% body fat and building 2 to 5 pounds of lean mass in the next 6 months
is 0.
0.
It's actually probably,
it might be a negative, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's a net. If it's not a net positive, it's a net negative.
Yep.
The net positive impact of drinking a glass of wine compared to your goal of reducing inflammation and maintaining good brain health as you get older.
And
0.
And these are connected to your why.
These are connected to your why and your goals.
Because that brings to mind your loved one with dementia.
Or your why not. I don't want those things, right? Remember, the only rule is your progress. This kind of evaluation forces you to focus on things outside your emotional triggers. You will find that the more you base your decisions on the reason and the result, the easier it becomes to stay consistent.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
When the book comes out, y'all better get it. But that brings us to what you were talking about with the experience, education, knowledge, information, right? There's 2 additional aspects that come into play, and that is, I guess the first one would be knowledge, and then the second one would be experience.
Applied
knowledge, right? So the first one is knowledge. Part of my process with alcohol was, well, for me, it was experience first and then knowledge. Because I had the experience of, holy crap, this did something that I was not expecting. And then I went and got the knowledge to understand why. And then the experience of going through it and saying, I know what this feels like without it.
Yep.
And then having the knowledge that reinforced the experience got me to a point where there's nothing that I can possibly do to justify why I want this in my life.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So having gotten to the other side, that's why we tell people all the time, just try carnivore. Just try doing something for a short period of time and see what happens. You don't know until you try it and see what happens.
This is where the elimination diets come in.
Right.
Because what you're talking about, if you're going to do it that route, right? For me, it was dairy. My whole life had problems with what I thought was lactose intolerance, got the test, nothing was conclusive. But one day I decided to strategically actually remove dairy for a period of time for Lent. And I discovered personally what that did for me. For many people, it's not until you actually add it back in that they notice it. You take it out for a period of time, you add it back in, and you realize how much better you felt when you didn't have it. So the same idea with any kind of elimination protocol, any kind of, well, you did it with just the alcohol, right?
Yep.
And this is another thing that I wanted to point out when you mentioned your 21-day sugar detox and you just focusing on the alcohol because you had already removed the other things. If you are struggling to stick to keto, maybe you don't need to be keto. Maybe you need to say, what is the biggest, least healthy thing I'm doing right now?
And just stop that.
And just focus on that one thing. If you're going and getting
God, there's
donuts
a whole nother freaking talk.
if
Gosh,
you're getting
woman.
donuts every other day, just cutting the donuts out will make a bigger difference. This is what I say to my ladies who are binge eaters. It's you may not need to be keto, you just need to stop binging.
Guys,
Maybe you don't
this is
have to
a
remove
huge concept.
all the carbs.
This is a
Maybe
huge
it's
concept.
just the junk processed food carbs. Maybe it's just the one thing that causes you to not be able to stop. For some people, it's chips, right? Identify the low-hanging fruit for you. What is the one thing that if I removed this one thing, everything else would improve?
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
This is why what she just said is so powerful, okay? Because maybe keto, carnivore, whatever you want to be, is where you want to end up. But that doesn't mean it has to be where you start.
Ah, yes.
Okay? You can take one thing, make that better until it becomes natural. It's natural for me to not have alcohol. It's not something I ever think about. Okay? And then you can build on that. What's something else down the road? Now that I've gotten this to a point where it's just how I live my life, what's the next big thing that I can improve? Maybe it's not food. Maybe it's getting to the gym on a regular basis. Maybe it's you're already going to the gym, but you know what you really need to be doing is pushing yourself harder. Maybe that's the thing that you need to worry about.
Or
without
maybe-
changing anything else.
Or maybe you're not doing anything to move your body.
Yeah.
Don't jump into a 6-day-a-week training program.
Right.
Maybe you just need to start walking every day. Doing some stretches, doing something to move your body and get the blood flowing.
Right. Yep.
So, and this is honestly where so many people end up failing, falling off the wagon. You know why keto carnivore is so attractive to people?
Why?
Because you are giving it the power over you. You think,
Oh my God, yes.
you think, oh, I can't moderate.
So the diet's going to help me
the
moderate.
stricter I go, the better I can stick to it. I can't just stop eating the donuts. I won't be able to stop eating the donuts unless I go carnivore. If I'm not carnivore, all of a sudden everything becomes available to me. And now, you know what's happening? It's the justifications.
Playing games.
Because you've never looked at the mental side of it.
Yeah.
You never thought about the thoughts. You never did that process. So many people are struggling on their keto carnivore journey because they think the diet is going to fix it for them.
There's two levels to that. One is the awareness that it's not the diet that's doing it. Number one. Number two, a lot of people may not be aware of this, but the reason that you're looking for a diet that's going to help you avoid these things is because you are afraid or avoiding looking at the real reasons. Okay? If you think a challenge, a diet, a boot camp, a academy, a whatever it may be,
a program,
a coach, or whatever is going to have the thing that you need to sign up for to do or start following or whatever it is going to help you stop the cravings. It's going to help you stop binging. It's going to help you stop cheating. Okay? You are absolutely 100% wrong. Until you figure out what is the justification that you're making that is making it worthwhile to you. Because here's the thing, we talked about this last week, okay? The reason you're doing it is because you want to do it.
When you take ownership over your choices,
Yep.
and you recognize that nothing you do, you have to do, everything is always a choice,
Always a choice.
and you own that, you can either do it on your own without a coach, a program, whatever, or you will have a lot more success when you join that program, that coach, whatever, because they're going to give you tools,
Right.
but they don't make it magically go away and magically easier. And I think that's the thing so many people are chasing when they do keto carnivore. They're like, I just want all the cravings to go away. I want this to magically no longer be an issue for me. That will never happen unless you look at the real reason why it's an issue.
Yep.
This is why we have 10, 20-year carnivores still having to do sardine fasts to make any kind of progress. They never dealt with the real issue.
Yeah. This is why you can be a carnivore and you're still having these issues, because you can overeat. You can gain weight on carnivore, guys. It's not a magic thing. Okay? The principles behind how your body works still apply regardless of what nutrition plan you're following.
Every diet I ever did, until I did this work, I found ways to
Satisfy.
overconsume, binge on that diet.
Yep.
I'll never forget paleo eating. Literally, I did almond stuffed, bacon wrapped, chocolate dipped dates. Anything. Oh, I can make my own paleo treats. Oh, then it just opened up a world.
Juliana, I love that, Juliana.
Bronson loves his tools.
If I go to Home Depot and they give me a hammer and saws, unless I do the work, I will not have any furniture.
I love that.
You can have all the tools in the world, but you still got to build the dang thing.
Yep.
Right? It's up to you.
I freaking love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, and that's why we both have had incredibly successable clients.
Right.
And we've had clients who are not successful.
Not successful at all. They gotta
They never get out of their own way.
So here's another chapter, another section in the book. What's that say?
Avoid extremes, make adjustments, not swings.
Yep. I can
like
read that
that
whole chapter too, but it's about small steps, guys. It's about small steps.
Yep.
I love how everything we're talking about is in the book.
It's funny, that was the chapter I just finished in the menopause specialist certification.
Small changes?
About assessing. Oh, this was a good tool I just learned from Girls Gone Strong. You can give yourself a rating when you decide this is what I'm going to do next. This is my action step. Give yourself a rating from 1 to 10. How confident am I that I will consistently do this action step? Every day or every week or whatever the action step, whatever you outlined. I'm going to train 6 days a week in the gym. How confident am I on a scale of 1 to 10
Ooh, I love that.
I will be consistent every single week, training 6 days a week in the gym?
That's the ready, willing, and able discussion, right?
Exactly. And be honest with yourself. Consider life. What happens when my kids get sick? What happens when I have to work late? What happens when XYZ? Then maybe that confidence level is only a 2. Okay, so maybe that's not the right next step for you. Because that's always the thing. They join a program. I want macros yesterday. I don't want to track what I'm eating yet. Just give me macros. Tell me what to do. I want to work out 7 days a week because I need this fat off now.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're going to burn out in 2 weeks.
Yep. There's so many places. I'm thinking of so many directions we could go from here. Without making this a 2-hour discussion. Just recap a little bit, guys. The process of breaking the cycle of cheating starts with you becoming aware of what are the justifications you're making that allow you to cheat. If those justifications, okay, here's the thing. Once you identify what the justifications are, now you have a choice to say, are these real? What are these based on? What are the arguments that I'm making to myself? And then evaluate, do I really want the thing that I say that I want? And then in that evaluation, we get to the thing. Maybe the thing you're saying you want is too far outside of the realm of reality. Maybe it's expectations that aren't even set by you. They're set by someone else. There's a whole bunch of things. What we're not saying is that any justification for cheating is bad.
Okay, huge part of this process we didn't mention yet. You've got to stop judging yourself and criticizing yourself for every single thing you
Every
do
decision.
wrong.
You own the decision.
Stop
It's not
making
good
it
or
wrong.
bad. It's not good or bad.
Nothing in this world has any meaning except the meaning we place on it.
Right. Right.
So this whole I'm good, I'm bad, I'm being good, I'm being bad, you've got to eliminate that from your thought process.
Yeah. So in the evaluation, it's evaluate both sides of the coin. What is the thing that I'm saying that I want to do? What is the thing that I'm doing instead? Where is that desire coming from? Where is this desire coming from? What is the goals I've set? What are the expectations? We find, and this goes into the small changes versus big changes. We find a lot of times we have to work with our clients to say, you're reaching too far. The reason you're struggling staying on track is because you're trying to do too much.
Too many things or too much
Pull
all at
it
once.
back a little bit. This thing that you're cheating on shouldn't even be a problem because who cares about that right now? It's beyond where you're trying to go. You're trying to limit too much. You're trying to restrict too much. You're trying to change too much. So you're not cheating. What you're doing is you're actually living and taking actions that are within your bounds of ability right now, right? You can't ask someone who's learning how to ride a bike to hop on a BMX track, okay? They still need training wheels, right? And if you're still on training wheels, stop trying to get on the road. Okay, that's kind of what we're looking at. Where are you at?
As you're evaluating these habits and thinking about, okay, the association, the value that you put on them, ask yourself this question. What if I stopped trying to stop this?
Ooh.
How do I feel about that? What if I just decided, instead of trying to stop eating this thing or drinking alcohol or whatever, binging Netflix at night instead of walking or getting in a workout, what if I just let myself do that for a week?
Mm-hmm.
What if I let myself do that
What would happen?
for a month? What if I let myself do that for a year?
Where would I be?
Where would I be? How would I feel about it then? If you're totally okay with that,
Then why are you
stop
worried?
trying to stop it.
Then why are you worried about it? Now, if you do that and you realize if I don't change this habit and I keep doing this thing, I'm going to be worse off than I am today, or you picture that and that makes you go, ooh, I don't know if I like that, then you have something to evaluate and say, okay, something that needs to change.
It once
I've gotta
again
make a
puts that
decision.
scale of this
Right.
holds more weight than my
Yeah.
justification, emotional brain is telling me, oh, it's just one drink. It's just X number of calories. It's just one day. No, it's not. It's never just any little thing. It's determining the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. It's the degrees. Which
Yep.
direction are you really going? I'm going to add another little wrinkle.
Okay.
Once you own it, I love how you talked about this a minute ago, with once you own it, you now have the power.
Yep.
Right? One of the things additionally that we try to challenge our clients with a lot is reframing and rethinking. Okay? And I'm going to use it myself as an example because I just did this week and she coached me. Okay?
That
I
happens
cook a
sometimes.
lot of meat in a crock pot.
Oh,
Okay? And I have gotten into a habit. This is what I do. I cook my meat up. We have some Tupperware containers. I do
Fill 'em all
4 to
up?
6 pounds of meat in the crock pot. I chop it, I cook it all up, and I put it in the containers and I put it in the fridge, right? Usually when I do that, we are out of Tupperware containers. We got no containers to use for anything else in the house, right?
don't.
So the other day, I was like, hey, the next time you're at Costco, why don't you pick up some containers? And she kind of looked at me and was like, we had a little conversation, but she looked at me and was like, well, you know, we have big containers. You can just put it all in one big container or a couple big containers. You don't have to use the small ones. And I was like, I don't know if I ever thought of that before.
I was like, you're not going to the office every day. I was
Right.
like, if you were going to be out of the house and you needed to make a portion for that day, then it makes sense to use those, but you don't need to use those all the time.
For every single
because
time.
most of the time you're eating here in our kitchen at home.
Right. So the way that we
like,
think,
what?
the way that we think about how we're doing this, you have to try and think out of the box. How can I do this differently than I'm doing now?
Just because I've always done it that way doesn't mean I always have to do it that way.
Exactly. And there's so many different applications to that concept. I had a client one time that I was talking with. It was like, I've been intermittent fasting for 3 years and nothing's working. Well, maybe intermittent fasting isn't what you should be doing. They just never thought that. They just thought that was how it was supposed to be done. That's what they've been doing. I've tried all these other things. It never occurred to them to try not intermittent fasting. So there's things that we're doing that we may not need to do it quite that way. And if we're not willing to have what I call a beginner's mindset of trying things, experimenting, and being open to the idea of doing it differently, we're going to be stuck all the time.
And it starts with analyzing, which is that
analyzing and being curious,
right? Like, I had a client who, this has happened actually for a lot of clients. I always overeat snacky foods when I get home from work before dinner with the family because I'm starving.
Right.
And I have to do my workout, and then I have to wait until the family is ready for dinner, and I'm so hungry. Okay, well, what if you either had your lunch later in the day so that you weren't as hungry before dinner because you're not very hungry between breakfast and lunch, or you put in a pre-workout snack that you can eat in the car on your way home, and then by the time you get home, you're not starving, you're ready to do your workout, and then you can have your dinner
or eat
later.
A bigger lunch. Or there's a lot of
so many ways to do that.
I had a client recently who was like, I did my workout early, I got home, I ate early, I got all my macros in for the day.
Oh, that.
And it's not dinner time yet. I guess I'll be over my macros today. The idea that she had to eat dinner and couldn't just go the rest of the day without eating never entered the thought process. It's like, you got your macros in, you got the adequate nutrition for the day, you don't have to eat dinner. And there's another layer to that of the idea of being hungry. It's okay to be hungry. That's a limiting belief. If I'm hungry, something's wrong.
Well, and you're assuming that you'll be hungry.
Right.
But if you already ate all your macros earlier in the day, it's very likely you're not actually going to be hungry at dinner time.
Not physiologically, but maybe mentally, because you're used to it. The habit is there, but you won't actually be hungry. So there's a lot of things that go into that. So just understanding that all the stuff we've talked about today still applies, but there's also ways to adjust what you're doing outside of just do it or don't do it. How else can I look at this situation? What's another way that I can reach this goal that's maybe more attainable for me? Something to look at. Cool. Thanks for joining us today, guys. We appreciate it.
And for those of you who do want to join a group, get in a community, get some coaching.
Join mine.
Join a challenge.
Join mine. Don't join hers. Join mine.
I have my annual challenge starting July 1st. We're in the last week of enrollment here. You can get the details. I have a video on my YouTube with all the Q&A. You can get the details in my Instagram, link in my bio, or go to nataliejgrasso.com. It is called the Summer Shape Up Challenge, and this is the one challenge we do every year with a big grand prize. You can win up to $5,000 in prizes. So we would love to have you with us. Go get the info, drop a comment if you have questions. I'd love to see you inside the Academy for that.
Awesome. And you guys know I have the book coming out, so please, it's on pre-order now. You can get the hardcover or the Kindle version on pre-order on Amazon, and go do that. The more pre-orders we can get, the higher ranking it will be and stay at when it comes out, and then just the more people we can get exposed to the information in there. If you go to my website, bodyconfidentbook.com, and you sign up for updates, you get a free chapter of the book, as well as some other information about what's going on there. So thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Bye.